This podcast is brought to you by Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate, powered by Kangaroo Fern Media Lab. Kangaroo Fern is Australia's independent video and podcast management agency with the mission to help individuals and entrepreneurs to start their own podcasts and harness the power of podcasting. Book now via www.kangaroofern.com.
A Kangaroo Fern production.
A Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate.
Thing we can do is just get stops and run. Stops and run, guys. Push, push, push every time.
Extra session with Kiko Malikdem tackles everything about the world of sports, especially the one close to the host heart, basketball. Updates, discussion, clarification, name it. Extra session has it. Extra session with Kiko Malikdem.
Okay, good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Extra Session with Kiko Malikdem here in Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate, Philippines. And as always, every episode is special as we talk to the different kind of personalities that became part of Philippine basketball. Today, we have with us a veteran basketball player. He's listed as one of the highest scorers in US collegiate basketball. Number 25 in points scored, number 16 in average points in his entire collegiate career. He played in the PBA twice, with the first one in 1989 with the crowd favorite Anejo Rhum, 65, now known as Barangay Ginebra, and returned the following year, 1990, to guide the Purefoods Hot Dogs franchise, now known as Magnolia Hotshots, to their first ever championship under the late great Baby Dalupan. Without further ado, the high scoring, shot blocking, high leaping, slam dunker, Daren Queenan.
Hey, thanks for having me. I mean, that's a nice intro.
Yeah, which is true, you know. Okay, so good day, Darren. I'm very happy to have you in our show. You know, it's been I don't know how many years. How are you doing, especially with this pandemic going on?
Oh, I've been doing great with the pandemic, COVID-19. You just can't go out and have fun like you used to. You know, you got to be very careful. It have to be strategic on where you're going to go, and you don't stay too long. And always make sure you wear a mask.
Yes. Okay, so let's go straight to the point. Let's talk about your colorful basketball career. How did it start for
Okay.
you? You know, were you really into basketball when you were still small?
You know, when I was growing up, I actually played three sports.
Hmm.
I played football, baseball, and basketball.
Wow, multi-sport.
And when I was entering the high school, well, I also wanted to focus on my grades. So
Hmm.
playing all three takes a lot of time.
Hmm.
And a lot of my friends play basketball. So I said, you know what? That's the one I'm going to focus on.
I see. Then you became part of the Lehigh, correct me if I'm
Lehigh
wrong. Yeah,
University.
Lehigh men's basketball team, university and college. What was the factor that made you choose that school, the Lehigh?
Other academics, and also Fran McCaffrey, who's
Oh,
coaching at the
yeah.
University of Iowa now.
Yes.
He was, Fran was actually the youngest coach. You
Hmm.
know, he was the head coach at 25, so it was very
Oh.
easy for him to relate. Now in high school, he was there all the time. I saw Fran every single day. So, I mean, every single game I looked up, there's Fran.
Yeah, I mean he vouched for you, you know. I mean, reading all the news articles before, he really liked you, and that's why probably one of the reasons why he got you, and you committed to Lehigh.
Well, and I tell you a story because he
Mhm.
really did believe in me. So
Yeah.
we were playing a game, and it was Ryder,
Hmm.
and I think I shot the ball like twice, but I made like both shots.
Hmm.
So I was they took me out the game,
Hmm.
and I looked at the coach, and it kind of looked disappointed. So I'm trying to figure out, what did I do wrong? Was it bad defense? Am I not grabbing enough rebounds? And 2 minutes passed. So he comes down. He goes, "You know why I took you out the game, right?" I said, "Be honest with you, no, I don't, coach."
Hmm.
He says, I didn't bring you here to pass the ball. Like, oh, that's why? That's why you sat me down? You call a timeout to tell me?
Wow, that's great. That's a funny story. So ever since then, no, the ball straight to the hoop.
Right. Ever since then, I didn't have a problem. You told me.
Yeah. Did you ever imagine that after college, your college career, that you would go on to make your mark in scoring and became part of NCAA history?
To be honest with you, no, I didn't, because I was a high school center. But my junior year, I played on the wing. So I had a lot of teams like Villanova, Temple. They came out to watch me. A lot of local teams, and it was Lehigh, and it was a lot of Ivy League schools, because I was pretty good with my schoolwork. It was who was the Ivy, like Brown. I know Brown was one, and Dartmouth. Okay, so my senior year in high school, that's when I played center, and a lot of the top Division I schools, they actually start pulling away because they couldn't measure my progression. Like, he's playing center, but can he really play on the outside? Whereas Fran was like, hey, he's a great athlete. I'm gonna take him regardless. So I never imagined myself even being in a position to make money playing basketball until really my junior year.
I see.
My junior year, my sophomore year. And I tell you the reason my sophomore year, because we actually played the University of Iowa. And it was a guy named Roy Marble, and he was like a projected first rounder. Matter of fact, he was a first rounder. He was like the 16th pick overall. And I'm like, wait a minute, I just scored 29 against this person, so maybe I can do a little bit of something. But it wasn't in the forefront of my mind at all until, like I said, really my junior year.
I see. Now, you were, like what I said, you were a decorated high scorer in college. However, things, didn't go as you wanted, and you were left as undrafted in the NBA draft. Did this put you down, or did this motivate you to be better?
Well, I was always what I would say overlooked. So the motivation was always there. And yes, of course, if you don't get picked, it does motivate you. You're driven to prove people wrong. So that made me concentrate even on my jump shot, to get my jump shot better. Because I was already a great athlete. I needed to work on my ball handling a little bit, but I wanted to become a deadly jump shooter.
I see. And then you played in the CBA, Continental Basketball Association, and even won the slam dunk contest. How was the competition back there? Did it hone you to become a better player after college, or what are the things that you learned new that you didn't expect or didn't learn in college?
Well, for me, it actually freed things up for me where I could do more, because at Lehigh, I had a buddy. His name was Mike Palaha. He was the second leading scorer, but I was like the first leading scorer. So they always put the best defensive player on me. So I always got the attention. Whereas I went to the next level, you had better athletes, you had better scorers. They couldn't just focus on me. So it gave me more room to be a better scorer. And like my first year in the CBA, I averaged 24.7, and I even shot like 39% from the three. So it really freed things up for me.
I see. And then you were exposed to the Philippine basketball when you became the import of Anejo Rhum. How did you come over to the Philippines? Who brought you here?
Well, there was a Filipino Asian, and I think he was like a liaison. He must have worked with maybe several teams in the Philippines, and he was like the eye in the U.S. And I first got a call from I forget his name. It's so long ago.
It's okay. It's okay.
But I got a call from him, and and
Mhm.
I told him, well, here's my agent. Talk to my agent, and I actually met the gentleman too because he was
Mhm.
right there in the Lehigh Valley
Mhm.
where I went to school. So I met him, and that's how I first heard of. That's how I first heard of the Philippines, and also the basketball there. And I
Mhm.
said, okay, well, this might be a great opportunity for me. And and I went. Now the thing with Anejo, it was the first time I actually played professional overseas,
Mhm.
so I had a lot to
Mhm.
learn.
Yes. And then as we are looking on your pictures of the yesteryears, uh, your coach in Añejo was the former Senator Robert Jaworski.
Oh yeah.
How was it playing for Coach Bobby or Coach Big J?
I tell you what, he treated me extremely well. I
Mhm.
mean, he was like a superstar down there. I was like, man, I thought I was a star. He got,
Yeah.
he got a lot of attention. And I heard a lot of great things about him, and I wish I could have brought a championship to him as well,
Mhm.
but I had a lot to learn.
Mhm.
But I think that year there taught me a lot,
Mhm.
and also the style and the pace of the Filipino basketball, and also the player I looked at, I said, you know what, this guy is kind of has a similar built like myself. I
Mhm.
need to play at his level. Let me study and see what he does. And it was the great Bobby Parks. I would
Mhm.
watch
Yeah.
what he did because I was kind of like the same height, same build, very athletic. Bobby was athletic. I was athletic. And I learned
Mhm.
a lot from him. So in the second year, I was really prepared.
Yes. Now, like what you said, the question was supposed to, you failed to bring Ginebra or Añejo to the next round. Although you were racking up on the scoring, scoring parade. Your team fell short. If I'm not mistaken, you lost to Alaska in a playoff match back then.
Right.
And then I'm pretty sure you were disappointed with your performance. I mean, even though you're scoring, because
Well,
you failed to bring the team to the next round.
and that's the key. I mean, the number one thing is the team accomplishments.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking for your team to win the championship. That's the number one goal, or it should be the number one goal of all players. You know,
Yeah.
is team success. And
Yes.
and if the individual accolades come along with it, then that's a
Mhm.
bonus. But the number one thing, you have to be focused on the team.
And now after this the said season, you found yourself back in the PBA the following year. This
Yeah,
time under Pure Foods Hot Dogs. How were they
correct.
able to snag you away from the popular team in Añejo?
Well, my agent said he believes it would be a better fit. He
Mhm.
said they got a great coach there.
Mhm.
They have a great foundation of players because he heard about like Alvin. He said, I believe what I heard from
Mhm.
my agent was they have the best player, which they said was Alvin.
Mhm. And then do you recall, aside from Alvin, do you remember any of your teammates? Like one or two
Oh,
more
oh,
names?
yeah, oh yeah, JoJo. JoJo was a smooth guard.
Mhm.
I like JoJo. Smooth guard would hit big shots during a game. Let me go back to Alvin because to me, just me, and I hope my
Yeah.
teammates don't get upset with me.
Mm.
Alvin was the best player.
Mhm.
Now, not the most athletic, okay, and I'm going to give you an athletic player in just a moment, but
Mhm.
in terms of his knowledge of the game,
Mhm.
uh, Alvin had a very high IQ.
Mhm.
Uh, he also was clutch as well. JoJo was
Yes.
clutch, but Alvin was clutch. Alvin really was high pace throughout the game. He was
Mhm.
always noticeable from the beginning of the game to the end of the game.
Mhm.
Okay. And then the other player who I thought was the best athlete was Nelson. You
Mhm.
know, Nelson was very quiet though. He was very because Nelson would dunk, because if I dunk, I was excited. Nelson would dunk. He might crack a smile for you. He just might crack a smile. So Nelson, and he was strong too. Nelson was really strong body. So those, of course, all the players, even the ones who don't get the time and the recognition when it comes to winning a championship, they also contribute. So I don't want anybody. I'm just telling you
Yes.
from my perspective. I'm just giving you the three
Mhm.
that kind of stood out.
Yeah. Now, you also played, when you played for Purefoods, you played with the multi-titled Baby Dalupan, who at the time was the most winningest coach in PBA history. How was it
Oh yeah.
playing for Coach Baby?
You know, I played with a lot of great coaches, and I'll just
Mhm.
name a few, and then we'll talk about
Mhm.
Coach Dalupan. I
Mhm.
played with he passed away, Flip Saunders. You
Oh
remember
yeah.
him,
Yes,
Minnesota
yes.
Timberwolves.
Mhm.
Um, I Rudy Tomjanovich. Actually, I worked out with him. He was with the Houston Rockets.
Mhm.
Um, my old high school coach, Fran, who I think is great as well. But I'm going to tell you one thing about Coach DeLupa.
Mhm.
I think he was right there. He
Mhm.
was right there. And the one thing I liked about Coach DeLupa's style, and it resonated with me, he always, when we had our conversations, it wasn't like scolding a child. He was like, Daren, you didn't get enough rebounds, you didn't get enough points, you didn't clog the middle, you didn't get a block shots. It was Daren. You did pretty good tonight, but you know what? You got the ability to do more. And I
Yeah.
think you can do A, B, and C. So it was like he believed in me. He was like, "Oh, I believe in you. You're a good player.
Mhm.
But I believe you have a higher plateau."
Yes.
So he actually, this is me personally with Coach Du. I just thought that resonated with me, and I think his mentorship helped us get to that championship level.
Mhm. How was it hard, playing as an import in the Philippines compared to, other countries?
Well, I can tell you this: the Philippines is a shorter season,
Mhm.
and they would play more games. Like over Europe, you might play. They might have the Euro Cup, but once the Euro Cup's done, you play like one game a week.
Mhm.
You play one game a week, and it's for like 10 months.
Oh.
And they stretch it out for 10 months. So it's less wear and tear on your body. Even
Mhm.
though you can do it those 3 months, 3.5 months, and then
Mhm.
you have time to rest. But like if you're Filipino, then you got to go to. I remember they had like the all Filipino. You don't got too much time to rest. So
The
that's
one tournament ended, for example, last week of March, then they will begin the next conference the first week of April.
that's what I'm saying, and that's a lot of wear and tear on the body. But
Mhm.
you just got to be mentally tough. But I can say this. Um, Now, the two organizations that I played for
Mhm.
really made it comfortable,
Mhm.
and Pure Foods for me actually made it extremely comfortable
Mhm.
because when I was there, they gave you a driver, so you didn't have to worry about driving. Or I
Mhm.
probably got lost. That's what they gave me. Um, if you got sore, they also had a masseuse for you as well.
Oh, okay.
So you had a masseuse who could rub out the soreness for you. So
Mhm.
they really took good care of your body,
Mhm. Mhm.
So they did a good job. So you was able to, once you had a game, it was tough. you play game, it's tiring, you know. But
Yes.
you could bounce back. But I tell you, I don't know if they still play there, but it was called the Ultra.
Ultra, yeah.
What I played. That's what they play. The atmosphere was great. I mean,
Mhm.
I could say that. It was like all the teams played in that one place, and it was packed. I was like, okay, this is nice.
Yeah. Well, Ultra is still, is now known as Phil Sports Arena here in the Philippines. But
Okay.
it's being, collegiate and international games are being held there. But the PBA has transferred to the Araneta Coliseum. And sometimes in Mall of Asia Arena, just you know there's a lot of changes, but definitely that Ultra Day, since it's near my house, was like what you said, was amazing. The atmosphere was great. You can feel, if you're if you're this nervous in a game, you'll really feel your heartbeat.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Now I can tell you now the good thing about most ball players, unless you're like a rookie in the Philippines, you, if you never played in front of a big crowd, oh, you can get nervous. I could see with back then
Mhm.
that type of audience being put under that spotlight, it might take several games to get the nerves out.
And as an import, you don't have enough. You don't have the luxury of time. You have to prove yourself immediately.
Well, but most imports normally already played under a big crowd. That's why I said
Mhm.
Filipino, who's their first time playing in the big crowd.
Mm. Now, how was it? How was it like, playing against Filipino players?
I tell you, I thought they were very good.
Hmm.
You know, at least with the Pure Feud hot dog, that team, I thought the three players that I mentioned to you were exceptional. And
Hmm.
I thought they could play in a lot of countries. I thought they could play, like if they went to college, they would be exceptional players.
I
You
see.
know,
Mhm.
now the players I played with, and I'll tell you the championship game as well. But if you're going to ask me about that,
Yes,
you
yes,
know, then I'll tell you how exceptional they are. But I thought they were excellent players.
yes, yes. Now, we're talking about the championship. How was it?
Well, and that's the thing. Now, the championship game, it was. Remember, we had Walker Russell, and Walker Russell was actually playing extremely well.
Mhm.
And then we lost Walker Russell. If you want to talk about that, we get into that later. But then
Yeah.
we brought in Rob Rose.
Hmm. Yeah.
So during the championship game, I think it was like the very last game, because the championship we played several games.
Yes,
But
game
the very
five.
last game,
Mhm.
Rob was injured.
Yes, third quarter or second quarter, something like that.
Yeah, so it was second and third.
Hmm.
Um, Most of the time, you're going to panic because you're going to say, "Oh my God, now there's two imports compared to one."
Hmm.
But we didn't panic.
Yeah.
And here's the reason why we didn't panic, because I thought we had three, of course, this is my opinion. I thought we had the three best players,
Yes, yes.
the three guys I mentioned to you,
Hmm.
and I thought Alvin was just as important as any import. That was my opinion. So when he got hurt, there wasn't you, and that's why we won, because there was no breakdown. We had a clutch shooter in JoJo. We had always Mr. Clutch in Alvin,
Alvin,
and we
yes.
had athletic, strong body Nelson, who can get in there and scrap with anybody.
Yes. That game, actually, a lot of fans reading from the community boards, were really, they look up to you because you after Rob Rose went away with an injury, you held up the fort for Pure Foods at the time, and then against two imports, two exceptional imports from Alaska, and you know playing with that, like what I said, you trusted your teammates, really makes a big difference. And if I'm not mistaken, the score was 99-98 for game 5. It was a close game.
Well, and like I said, I actually think we weren't at a disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's
So you want to start a podcast? Or perhaps you've already started one, but you're still unclear on how you can actually make this podcasting work. No worries. That's why we're here for you. We are Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate, powered by Kangaroo Fern Media Lab. Join our network. Contact us at info@kangaroofern.com because we're stronger together.
a mental thing. Because I see these guys, I see my teammates play all year long.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't think of course, you're thinking, oh, Rob Rose, I wish we could have him. But I was like, okay. I looked around, I said, oh, I got the best Filipino players.
Yes.
And, I don't know what probably happened after, but I know Alvin was probably an MVP. JoJo probably might have been an MVP. And I'm thinking, in my opinion, Nelson was probably an MVP. Sometime.
Yeah, well, they were considered as, legends of Philippine basketball already. But, for the three, it was Alvin who got the most MVP. I mean, he was the only MVP winner. He won it 4 times. But Nelson and JoJo also figure out in that MVP race in the next few years, after they parted ways. Yes. Now, I could still remember in game 5, it was a wild sequence when you were hit by one player that almost figured a free for all bench clearing incident that sparked you still recall that?
I just remember winning, so you got to explain that scenario to me.
Yeah, well, I think you were going to drive to the basket, and then one player from Alaska hit you hard, and then Alvin was really mad at him, and he was going to charge to that person, and then there was a bench clearing incident, something like that. I think that's part.
Let me tell you, my players had my back because and they just wanted me to remain calm, stay focused. We're so close to our goal. And the goal was, and I heard that a lot, just like my teammates. Pure Foods always good, but they never could win the championship. It was like a curse. We got to break the curse. And I think I was like, oh, we're so close to breaking the curse. Don't break my player.
Yeah. And it was, not only you gave Pure Foods their first championship, and you put, the journey, if I'm not mistaken, ended on the week of Christmas. Plus,
yes,
you were the only team to come back from a 0-2 deficit at that time, aside from the famous Crispa team, Redmanizers. But then after that, you were the second team, but it took a few years after to come back from a 0-2 deficit. How special was that?
Well, at the time, you're down 0-2, you are feeling a little nervous.
Yeah.
But I said to myself, if we win, and this is what I honestly believed, and the outcome speaks for itself. I said to myself, if we just win that next game, down 2, we're going to win it. We're going to win it, because I always thought at the time we were better and we weren't playing up to our capability. And Alaska was a good team as well. So we couldn't have a fall off and expect to be Alaska. They had good imports. They had very good players. I think his name was Alvin Perez. He was a little 6'2" guard jumper. You had Sean. But I knew if we would play up to our capability, then we would have the advantage. So we weren't playing to our capability. But once we start playing to our capability, I was like, boom, that's the confidence builder we need. Now we're going to win it.
I think that the high leaper that you were talking about, Alaska, was Paul Alvarez, Bong Alvarez, something like
Yeah, that was his
that.
name.
Yes, and then Sean Chambers. Now, um, what did you learn from playing in the Philippines?
What did I tell you? I learned a lot from playing in the Philippines. The one thing I learned is because I was coming out of college, so
Mm-hmm.
to get stronger,
Yeah.
to be professional, and also to be coachable.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that helped me in my endeavors to have a lot of success with my career over in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's the first time, especially with Anejo Rhum, and then I went to Purefoods. It's really playing under a professional atmosphere.
I see.
Whereas in college, um, I was the scorer. But I didn't really have to focus on score. you know? Whereas here, the one thing you learn is you have to maintain your body because the expectation is you have to be able to have high output each game. If you
Yes.
have just one game and then good game and then you have a so-so game, then a bad game, then a good game, you're not doing your team any favor. The
Mm-hmm.
coach wants somebody who's steady. Okay, can I rely on you? Or if you're a rebounder,
Mm-hmm.
if your job is to get 12 rebounds a game,
Mm-hmm.
okay, maybe you get 14 rebounds. Okay, you get 10, but you're not going to get 2, then 20, then 6, then 25 because your coach is like, I can't have that. I need you to be stable. So that's the one thing I learned. With Coach Dalupan, I said to myself because, and he taught me this as well. You know, about the expectations. Darren, this is what we expect of you, but I believe you can do more. So I already knew there was a floor that he was expecting me to do. And it was a pretty high floor, but I
Yes.
knew it. So I knew, okay, well, you know, Coach Lupin is trying to put all these pieces together. I have to be the stable piece.
Yes. Yes.
You're coming in here. That's why they're bringing imports in. So you play at a high level, and then let the coach work out the other pieces around. Now, and I think that's what Walker
Mm-hmm.
might have didn't understand.
Yes.
Very great player. Oh my God, this guy could pass like no other. Walker Russell.
Yes.
But you have to be a professional. You have to be a professional. Yeah, see, Walker.
Yes.
He was a good guy, really good game, exciting, and I heard things. After a while, I was like, well, we're gonna let go Walker. Okay, huh? Is that the right move?
Mhm.
But at the time, you're trusting the coach,
Mhm.
and a team's not going to be successful unless everyone understands we have a mission to win a championship. And that brings in hard work, dedication, being coachable, and most of all, being professional. I mean, taking care of your body, not going out partying all the time because
Mhm.
you can get lost in that. I mean,
Yes. Yes.
any player could get lost in that, but that's part of your job.
Mm-hmm. That's good. That's good. Now, earlier I saw no, I mean, we saw the picture on the screen for Russell, and then right now you're seeing the championship. The faces. There's Nelson
Oh
beside
yeah,
the red guy, and then there's Dindo Pomaren, the point guard above
yep,
Nelson.
he's our point guard.
And then of course there's Rob Rose is on the far end. I was looking for you in this picture. However, I wasn't able to.
I can't, I can't find myself, but here's the thing: when it comes to championships,
Yeah.
you have to let everyone celebrate. So for me, is Get up there, do your thing. And I think I'm kind of like, you don't even see Coach Dalupan.
Yes, yes.
I bet you Coach Dalupan and I were somewhere talking.
Yeah,
But,
yes, correct.
but see that guy right there? Wasn't he the assistant coach? You see the
Uh,
trophy?
yes, yes. I'm not sure,
He's,
but most likely he's one of the assistant coaches. Yeah.
he reminds me of the assistant coach because I also talked to the assistant coach a lot. I think he
Mhm,
done a great job also
mhm.
with the Dalupan philosophy.
Yes.
And I just think that these all these players they wanted to get that monkey off their back, because
Yeah.
that's all I heard the curse. And I think when Russell, because he was a great player, he was doing well. So,
Mhm,
but I think when they start hearing things about maybe his nightly activities,
mhm.
they decided, okay, we can't jeopardize it because Walker Russell was a great import,
Mhm.
but you have to follow what the captain of the ship says, and that was Coach Dalupan.
Yes, correct. And by the way, these pictures were taken from various Facebook pages, such as the PBA all-time greats, the PBA 90s, 80s, and 90s pictures page,
I
and
tell you,
also, yeah, I mean,
that
I
brings back a lot of memories.
yes, I was searching also for that when I look at the picture, man, I remember Daren Queenan, the 1990 third conference. About this.
And
This is the slam dunk contest. Can you
oh
tell us
yeah,
more about this?
well,
We are Independent Podcast Network. We are Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate. Would you like to hear your brand while supporting quality podcasts? Contact us now at advertise@guerrillapodcastsyndicate.com.
I, and I Nelson actually did that dunk.
Mhm.
Nelson actually did that dunk. So I stole Nelson's dunk. I, I, I stole his dunk and I took credit for it.
What did he say afterwards?
It's a good job. It's a good job. You executed perfectly. That's why you won.
Now, you won this slam dunk contest, right?
Yeah, in the CBA, yes.
Oh, how about
And that
for
won it.
mhm. How about in the
Yeah, that won
Philippines?
it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We were talking about earlier off before the start. If you see the screen on the upper right, there's KP, the shoes that
Oh
you
yeah.
wear.
And I used to work, and I had a sneaker deal with KP now, and I think if you zoom in, you can see I wore the KP shoes, and I was wondering if they still have KP sneakers.
Oh no, I don't think so. They ceased the operations in the middle of the 90s already. That's why.
Oh
But then that's a Filipino made shoe, right?
yeah,
Yeah, well, brings back memories. All those. You were a high leaper, and then in slam dunk contest winner. Wow, that was something. Now, here's the thing. I must admit, you were a great import. I remember, like what I said earlier, uh, you scored at least 80 points in a game in the Philippines, if my memory serves me right. The thing is,
yeah.
why didn't you come back anymore in the PBA? It puzzles me that a talent like you weren't called back to play again in the league.
Well, and here's what it boils down to. It really
Mhm,
boils down to opportunities that goes to your agent,
mhm,
and your agent normally makes the calls. Now,
mhm,
I think what happened with me is once we won the championship, it really opened up a lot of opportunities for me, um, and especially over in Europe, and they actually offered me pretty good money. They offer, but I love my time in the Philippines. I just thought I thought it was great. I thought the people were great. You know, and I give you a story. Like for example, and this is besides basketball because there's always a human touch
Yes.
to things as well. So I had a driver, and my driver, he had a gun, and he was supposed to protect me. So a lot of times I would like go in my house where they had like a little apartment for me,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought the driver would go home. And he was sitting like he in the car. I was like, wait a minute. No, if you're not going home, you can stay in the apartment,
Mm-hmm.
treat it like it's yours.
Yes, yes.
And then I noticed like when I would go out to eat, he would stay outside. I said, listen, if you're taking care of me, I'm taking care of you. You come in, I pay for you to eat. So I would pay for him to eat. And my driver took real good care of me. And I remember one time, I even met his family, and I would buy his family food, and they love Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Yeah. Best tasting chicken.
Yeah. And what got me, it was like he was real nervous, like when I offered it to him. He was like nervous, like I'm like, no, it's okay. I'm telling you, it's okay. Because I think he was maybe worrying about not getting in trouble with the job.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
I was like, don't worry about that. I said, I talked to the president. The president and I are real cool.
That's why Filipinos love you so much, Daren, for that. It's just sad that we weren't able to see you back then. Now, did you heard any news that were there other teams who tried to reach out to you to invite you to come back in the Philippines?
And that's the funny thing. I never heard. I never heard. And
Oh.
so, and there might be teams who said, yeah, we reached out to your agent, but the process, your agent has to tell you, because normally they won't contact you personally. Like teams won't normally contact an import personally unless he's been with that team for several years, perhaps.
I see. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. You retired playing professional ball in 2002?
Yes, 2002.
Yes. What was the turning point or incident that made you say, "Hey, it's time for me to, stop playing"?
Oh, that was easy. Because when I was dunking, it started hurting.
Oh man!
Wow, that was a good dunk, but I felt it.
Were there any regrets in your part on how your basketball turned out, or were you satisfied already?
Let me tell you. I was very satisfied. I was very satisfied. Like I always looked at things like stepping stones, life lessons, and I'll just give you an example.
Okay.
With Anejo Rhum, I saw myself as not meeting the team goal, but I didn't get down on myself. I said, okay, Daren, you didn't meet the team goal, but how can you improve in case you ever go back there? And I think that's what people need to take in life. You're not always going to accomplish everything right away. Now, did I give him my best? Yeah, I tried to give him my best, but I was a young guy trying to go against guys who are more experienced and maybe perhaps knew how to prepare, maybe knew a trick or two, maybe knew how the Filipino ref will call games, and that makes a difference too. Can you be a little aggressive with referee A compared to referee C so you don't get in foul trouble? So when I came back, I was just taking everything in. I was taking everything as sponge. And I tell you, Jaworski taught me a lot. He actually taught me a lot because I listened. He probably think I didn't listen, but I listened, and he might not like me to say this, but he's probably part of the reason why Purefoods won that championship.
Now, what was your fondest memory of your short PBA career? Actually, just trivia: the coach that that you beat in the 1990 finals was Team Cone, and he overcame Coach Baby Dalupan as the most winningest coach, and he even coached the Pure Foods franchise to a Grand Slam.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and now he's the head coach of the Ginebra team, the Anejo Rhum franchise. So,
Okay.
so so you're all connected to this one. What was the
This
funnest
one game.
Yeah. What was the fondest memory of your short PBA career?
For me, of course, it's easy. It's the championship. To me, and this is why I actually fell in love with basketball when I was a junior in high school, and I realized, I was like, wait a minute, you tell me this basketball can change the whole demeanor of a community? That's when I fell in love with it, because I like when everyone can celebrate. So for me, it was all the hard work, and then the last game, all the smiles. Because if you remember, we were 0-2. It was a lot of stress, but I didn't realize that myself, that I was like, wow, they really did have a monkey on their back. And it really came out. It was like, oh my God, we won. Because kind of like, what they said about Cleveland, like when LeBron won, Cleveland always losing, always lose. And that's kind of how it felt. I was like, oh, you know what? That made me real happy because everybody was happy. It was Christmas time. I was like, kids are going to get nice Christmas presents.
Oh, yeah. Because of the bonuses.
All the kids are going to get, whoever's kids associated with that team is going to get some nice Christmas presents.
Yeah. Now, what was the biggest disappointment in your basketball career?
Well, my biggest disappointment is I actually think I think I had a chance to make the NBA, but I think it was more based off monetary means, because I grew up, very, very humble. We weren't rich, but I remember Flip Sanders. He said, Daren, if you come back to the CBA, it was kind of like development league for the NBA. I believe you'll be one of the first guards to get called up. And then he went and became a coach.
Yeah.
But I said, Coach Sanders, I don't come from a rich family. I gotta take the guaranteed money.
Yeah.
So that it's I wouldn't call it a disappointment, because I still think I was fortunate. But I would say, if there was one thing you might have considered,
Okay.
that I think that's a better word, because to me, if you play, now you might not have how things turn out, but if you compare how many people play professional basketball, you're very fortunate. You're very fortunate, because just think about it. Just to be the best player in your region, that's very difficult to do. Then to be, let's say, to make the starting team, that's very difficult to do.
Yes,
So
yes.
you're fortunate. But if I had one thing to consider, again, that might have been it.
I see. Now, Do you have any children who is, somehow following your footsteps of being a ball player?
No, I only produce girls.
Oh, I see. But then there's WNBA, right?
No, but my girl's a little prissy.
Okay. Oh, now
I got cute girls.
tall also, right?
Well, they're about 5'7", 5'8". They're not that tall.
Okay, just tall for a Filipina.
Right.
Now,
Right.
in your own perspective, what were the difference of how the games are played before and how are the games played currently?
Well, I can tell you, it's small ball, but the
Mhm,
players are a lot more skilled. And what I mean by a lot more skill is
mhm,
not necessarily the perimeter player, but the interior players.
mhm.
Now the interior players are able to shoot 3 pointers, pass, push the fast break. So it's a speed game. Whereas when I grew up, you had
Like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss an episode by clicking on the subscribe button now. This podcast is possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your support. Now back to the show.
you taped your ankles, you had high tops, and you got in the weight room because you had the bang for rebounds.
Yes.
Well, now they've got the lower shoes, like 3/4, because it's all about creating space. It's all about that burst of speed, getting out in the fast break. Um, so that's how the game has changed. It's kind of changed to a small ball, and your typical, remember your big 6'10", 6'9" power forwards. There are things there in the past, like how effective, just think about this. How effective, and I hope he doesn't listen to this, but how effective would a Rick Mahorn be in today's game?
Well, he would be he would be like Draymond Green, wherein he would be the center, center for, and then his teammates would be more of a outside shooter. He would be more of a rebounder only.
He would slide into the center spot, but Draymond Green has more basketball ability. He
Yes,
can push
he can
the
push.
he can push the ball. He'll shoot
Can
a three
pass.
once in a while. He
Mhm.
he plays defense on 5, 4, 3, so that he has
Yes.
more versatility.
Hmm.
Players nowadays have more versatility, and I
Hmm.
think that started with really, in my opinion, LeBron James, because LeBron, and it's speculative if he's the best player,
Hmm.
but he's the most versatile player. And I
Hmm.
think teams saw that and said, "Oh, you get a 6'8" guy who can do everything. He could take you a long way."
Hmm. Now, how do you think a Daren Queenan on your prime would you know would compete with the players today? Would you fit with the current pace of the game?
Well, I was always a good athlete, so I
Mhm.
think it would actually have been a better fit for me.
I see.
And then it would just been, of course, you always have to have a little luck to
Hmm.
see if you get placed in the right situation. But I think that would increase my probability because of the small ball.
Hmm.
Because see, with me, the biggest thing is, okay, now can he lead the break? Well, if you have 4 people in your power forward who can lead the break, you don't necessarily have to worry about if this guy can lead the break.
Hmm.
So it's just totally different. So I think it would increase my probability of making it.
I also believe so. Because since you were you know how to play the 4 and 5, and then you slid to 2 and 3. You, like what you said earlier, you might be a Draymond Green already for
Oh,
this
right.
for this era. Well, those were the what ifs.
Yeah, those are the what ifs. But you like You can dream, you can imagine, but a lot of times you just gotta be happy with what you would get.
Anyway, what would you advise to someone who look up to you, who idolizes you as, I want to be a Daren Queenan. What would you advise that person?
Well, here's what I would advise. Number one, I would say study your academics
Mhm.
because you're going to need something to fall back on once it's all done. And one thing Lehigh has prepared me was for a smooth transition into corporate America. So uh, study your academics. Uh,
Mhm.
Number two, I think I am the role model for players who didn't come out with a lot high accolades,
Mhm.
who weren't like a McDonald's All American.
Yes.
And a lot of times you might not be the best player, but if you continue to work hard, take each win in stride, build in steps, build in steps. And one other thing I would say also is for fathers to get more involved with their kids, okay, especially the male, because who whose voice do they respect the most? Their father. So when they do have setbacks, don't ever call it setbacks, but the father has to be there to walk them through it emotionally. Say, okay, you're not here right now, but you can build here. Look at this player, look at that player. It was continuously hard work. Make sure you're coachable. And here's one thing you can always exert. Here's one thing any player can always do: play with a lot of energy. If you don't have skill, you at the time, you can always play with a lot of energy. There's no excuse for that. That is just getting enough rest, taking care of your body, and bringing a high level of energy to the game.
I see. Now, any message to your family, your supporters, and of course the PBA fans?
Like I said, I actually had a wonderful time. The people there were great, and I actually remember it like it was yesterday, So, and I just want to thank everybody who was a Yeho and a Pure Foods fan who rooted me on. Probably Yeho was a little disappointed, but
Mhm.
Pure Foods was happy. But
You can't have it all.
yeah, but whoever rooted me on, I appreciate it. And you know what? And I just like to thank them for giving me the opportunity to always be known as one of the imports to help Pure Foods win its first championship. That's something that could never be taken away from you. You don't have to worry about stats. That's the best stat.
Oh, by the way, for the benefit of those, who's keeping tabs with, with the former imports, what kept you busy, after your basketball career?
Well, I've been in the financial industry, and
Okay.
and so, and here's one thing: it's called financial literacy. A lot of ball players, and that's why I was talking about Billy Ray Bates.
Mm-hmm.
They make a lot of money, but they don't know how to manage their money. And a
Correct.
lot of them make a mistake because they like agents manage their money, but they don't have the expertise in managing money, or some investments that they hand off to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Let your agent negotiate your contracts, but learn how to manage your own money. So that was one thing that really stood out for me. And I give you I give you a story, and I'm going to make it short.
Mm-hmm.
So I was playing in Spain. I was playing in Spain. It was a team called Badalona. It was right next to Barcelona,
Okay.
and we were on the bus. And I was paying my bills on my computer. So my teammate came back to me and he goes, "Daren, what are you doing?" I said, I'm paying my bills." He says, "Why don't you let your agent pay your bills?"
Mm-hmm.
I said, "How much are you paying your agent? He said 4%. But this guy was a very good player. So it's about $25,000 a year he was paying his agents just to pay his bills. So I said, let me do a quick calculation for you. So he was about 25. I said 65 is going to be retirement. So that's 40 years. I did a payment of 25. I used the S&P 500, which is historically around 8%. Now, it doesn't assess the total risk, but it was just going to be a calculation. Then I hit future value. It was over $800,000.
Wow.
Okay. His eyes lit up. I said, yes, that is the time value of money that you don't understand. And once I start noticing, whoa, athletes really don't know, because athletes are conditioned. And this is because I heard it. Focus on basketball, let your agent take care of everything else, and you'll get a bigger contract. That's the mentality, you know. But then I start realizing it's not just athlete. Everyone needs financial literacy on how to manage their money. And I'm actually a certified financial planner.
That's great. That's great. You know, you'll be helping a lot of, you know, athletes with that thing, you know.
Yes.
That's great. Okay, Daren, I know I've taken a lot of your time, almost an hour, but this has been a great walk back to the past, you know, reliving all the great moments. And I'm very, very happy that, you know, you were able to come back with my message. I think I sent you a message months ago, but you know, I'm very happy that you were able to answer it, and you know, we were able to set this interview. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate your time, and hopefully we can do this again sometime real soon. Wish you all the best and good luck in your endeavors, sir. And of course,
Well,
yes, yes, Daren.
yes. And thank you for giving me the opportunity just to show my gratitude to the Filipino family
Mhm.
who took me in and showed me, uh, I would say, gracious. They were just gracious. They were great hosts. They really took care of me. I would advise any import who goes there, and as long as you have your mind right, you're going to have a wonderful experience. And yes, let's definitely stay in touch. I really appreciate you giving me this opportunity.
Okay, so that wraps up another episode of Extra Session this week. I would like to say, like I said earlier, thank our guest Daren Queenan. Thank you for spending the time. It was a great honor indeed for you to have in our podcast. And this has been Kiko Malikdem, and in behalf of the Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate Philippines, games are always exciting if there is extra session.
Thank you for listening. Make sure to visit our website at www.guerrillapodcastsyndicate.com, where you can subscribe to the show in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or via RSS, so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, rate and review this podcast and share it with your friends. You can also join the conversation with Guerrillas RV on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Please consider on making a donation to help us keep making the podcast you love. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us.